Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. In a luxurious penthouse overlooking the city skyline, Liam Parker, a successful billionaire CEO, was carefully reviewing his upcoming business deals. As the head of one of the most powerful tech companies in the country, Liam was no stranger to pressure. Yet, despite his success, something felt off. Something was missing, and it wasn't the millions he made each year. No, what he lacked was the warmth of genuine connection, the kind of connection that wasn't tainted by wealth or power. But Liam couldn't afford to slow down. The company's future was on the line, and his role as CEO demanded his full attention. Still, in the quiet moments between phone calls and meetings, his thoughts drifted to what he truly needed. Someone to stand by him, someone real. The kind of person who wouldn't just be there for the perks, but would be there for him, flaws and all. At the same time, across town in a small, cramped apartment, Emma Brooks was preparing for a blind date that she really didn't want to go on. She had promised her best friend, Jenny, she would give it a try, but the whole idea of it filled her with anxiety. She had never been great at dating. In fact, she had never felt entirely comfortable in her own skin, let alone in a fancy restaurant filled with people who looked like they belonged in the pages of a magazine. Emma wasn't used to the luxury and elegance that others around her seemed to take for granted. Her dress was secondhand, and her shoes had seen better days. She stood in front of the full-length mirror, her reflection reminding her that she didn't belong in a place like this. Still, she took a deep breath, adjusting the hem of her dress and fixing her hair the best she could. She had promised Jenny she'd go through with it, so she would. With one final glance at herself, Emma grabbed her purse and left the apartment. Her heart raced as she stepped into the cab. The city lights blurred outside the window, but all she could focus on was the blind date that awaited her. The restaurant was upscale, one she had never set foot in before. When the cab pulled up, Emma hesitated before stepping out. She checked her phone for the table number and walked inside, her nerves on full display as she tried to scan the room. She was looking for one person, Kevin. The text from Jenny had made it clear, table 7. Emma muttered under her breath as she searched for the table, her heart pounding in her chest. As her eyes scanned the room, she saw a man sitting alone at a table near the back, his dark hair perfectly styled, and his suit sharp and immaculate. He was engrossed in his phone, looking like he belonged in this place, the complete opposite of Emma. She knew it had to be him. Kevin. Gathering her courage, Emma walked over to him, offering a bright smile, her nerves taking over. "Hi. You must be Kevin," she said, her voice a little more eager than she intended. The man looked up, blinking at her with a hint of confusion in his eyes. He hadn't been expecting anyone to approach. Hi, Emma," he said, his voice slightly uncertain. Emma's heart sank. This wasn't Kevin. She had sat at the wrong table. She froze, a deep blush creeping up her neck as the reality of the situation hit her. "I'm so sorry," she muttered, standing up abruptly. "I thought you were someone else. This is so embarrassing." Her face burned with shame as she turned to leave, hoping to disappear. Liam watched her go, a strange mix of curiosity and regret washing over him. He had intended to correct her the moment she sat down, but something about her, her sincerity, her nervous energy, made him hesitate. He watched as she bolted out of the restaurant, leaving him sitting there, wondering why he felt bothered by her sudden departure. He had dealt with many women in his life, all polished, poised, and interested only in his wealth. But this girl, Emma, was different. She had no interest in his money. She didn't even know who he was. And somehow, that made her all the more intriguing to him. Emma, meanwhile, had fled the restaurant in a rush, her face flushed with embarrassment. She didn't stop until she was back in the safety of her small apartment, her heart still racing. She had made a fool of herself, she thought. She flopped onto the couch, grabbing her phone to text Jenny about the disaster. As she typed, she couldn't shake the image of the man she had mistakenly approached. He had been so calm, collected, and polite, despite her awkwardness. It was a little too easy for her to feel at ease around him. But now, All she could think about was how she'd never see him again. But fate had a different plan. Just as she was about to put her phone down, a notification popped up on her screen. It was a text from Kevin. "Hey Emma, where are you? I'm at table 7. Can't wait to meet you." Emma's heart sank once again. She had made the mistake of sitting at the wrong table, and now she couldn't face him either. But then, in the corner of her eye, she saw something. The man she had mistakenly sat with, the one she had run from, had been looking at her with an expression that was hard to place. A look that lingered longer than it should have. Before she could respond, Emma heard a knock at the door. When she opened it, standing there was the last person she expected to see. The same man from the restaurant, Liam. He was holding a bouquet of flowers, a small smile on his face. "I'm sorry about earlier," he said, his voice calm. "I realized I didn't properly introduce myself. My name is Liam Parker. I think we both made a mistake tonight, but maybe we can make it right." And with that, the next chapter of Emma's and Liam's story began, one that neither of them had seen coming. As Emma closed the door behind her, she leaned against it for a moment, her heart still racing. She had just made a fool of herself in front of a stranger, and now, to top it off, he had shown up at her apartment with flowers. Her mind was spinning as she stood there, staring at the man who was clearly more than he appeared. Liam Parker. She could hardly believe it. He was a stranger. Someone she had thought was just another man in a suit. Someone she had mistakenly sat down next to at a restaurant. But now, with those flowers in his hand and a soft smile on his face, he was turning everything upside down. "I'm sorry about earlier," Liam said, his voice calm and steady, almost as if nothing had happened. "I realized I didn't properly introduce myself. My name is Liam Parker. I think we both made a mistake tonight, but maybe we can make it right." Emma stared at him, unsure of what to say. Her thoughts were a mess. She had already embarrassed herself once, and now here he was, standing in front of her, his presence filling the small apartment. She felt suddenly self-conscious, the weight of her second-hand dress and worn shoes pressing on her. She was no one special, just a waitress trying to make ends meet. What was a man like him doing here? "I didn't mean to," she started, but Liam held up a hand, stopping her. "No need to explain," he said with a chuckle. "I think we both know how awkward the situation was. But I just wanted to clear the air." He held out the flowers toward her, a gesture that felt oddly sincere. Emma hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should take the flowers, but finally reached out, accepting them. "Thank you," she said softly. "But I really don't know what to say." She stopped herself, feeling embarrassed again. Liam smiled warmly. "You don't have to say anything. I understand how strange this must be. Look, I know this is all sudden, but I'd like to make it up to you." His gaze softened, and for the first time, Emma saw something beyond the polished exterior of a successful CEO. There was something genuine there. "I know a good coffee place not far from here. How about we grab a cup and talk for a bit? I promise no more awkward mix-ups." Emma was taken aback. It wasn't every day that a man like him, a millionaire CEO, asked her out for coffee. She was just a waitress, someone who worked long hours to pay the bills, never imagining she'd be sitting across from someone like Liam. But something about him made her want to give him a chance. Maybe it was the way he wasn't rushing to get to the point, or the fact that he wasn't looking at her like a means to an end. "Coffee sounds nice," she said, her voice a little more confident than before. "But why me?" She found herself asking before she could stop. "I mean, why are you here with me?" Liam paused for a moment, as though considering his words carefully. "I've met a lot of people in my life," he began, his tone thoughtful. "But there's something about you, Emma. Something real." He smiled again, a smile that made Emma feel, for the first time, like she wasn't just another face in a crowd. "And maybe that's what I need right now. Something real." She blinked, taken aback by his words. She didn't know what to say, so instead, she simply nodded. Her mind was still reeling from the surprise of it all, but she couldn't deny the curiosity that had begun to build inside her. "All right," she said, her nerves settling a little. "Coffee it is." They made their way to the small coffee shop a few blocks away, the evening air cool but pleasant. The streets were quieter now, the hustle and bustle of the city fading as the night began to settle in. Emma walked alongside Liam, her mind racing with questions she didn't know how to ask. Why was he really here? What did he want from her? And more importantly, why did it feel so easy to talk to him? They entered the coffee shop, a cozy little place with soft lighting and the rich scent of roasted coffee beans filling the air. Liam held the door open for her, a small gesture, but one that made Emma feel strangely cared for. They found a corner booth and sat down, the dim light casting a warm glow over the table. For a moment, they both sat in silence, each of them unsure of where to begin. Finally, Liam broke the silence. "So, Emma, tell me about yourself. I mean, really, what's your story?" She looked at him, surprised by the question. It wasn't often that someone wanted to know about her life beyond her job or her looks. "I'm just a waitress," she said with a shrug, suddenly feeling small again. "I work at a diner downtown. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. And I have dreams, you know? I want to open my own art studio someday. But for now, I'm just trying to get by." Liam listened intently, his eyes focused on her as she spoke. There was no judgment in his gaze, just genuine interest. Emma found herself relaxing as she continued, talking about her love for painting, her small apartment, and the struggles she faced every day. It felt strange, opening up to someone she barely knew, but at the same time, it felt easy. When she finished, Liam sat back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "You know," he said quietly, "I think you're doing a lot better than you give yourself credit for. I'm impressed by your ambition." Emma looked at him, confused. "You're impressed by me? What?" Liam smiled, a smile that reached his eyes. "Because you're real, Emma. You're not trying to be someone you're not. And in this world, that's rare." Her heart skipped a beat at his words. It wasn't often that someone saw her that way. As the night continued, their conversation flowed more easily. They talked about everything and nothing, life, dreams, the future. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she wasn't just a waitress. She was someone worth getting to know. By the time they finished their coffee, Emma felt like a different person, lighter, more hopeful. Liam had opened up a side of her that she hadn't realized was missing, and as they walked back to her apartment, she felt a strange sense of anticipation. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something real. As they reached her door, Liam turned to her and smiled. "Thank you for the coffee, Emma. I really enjoyed our time together." Emma smiled back, her heart a little warmer than before. "Me too, Liam." The next few days were a blur for Emma. She couldn't stop thinking about the coffee date with Liam. Everything had been so unexpected, yet so easy. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she wasn't just a face in the crowd. Liam had listened to her like he truly cared. He'd made her feel seen, something that was so rare for her. But there was a nagging feeling in the back of her mind, something she couldn't quite shake. Why had he reached out to her? What was he really looking for? Was this just another rich guy looking for a casual fling? Or was there more to it? She had spent the last few days trying to distract herself with work, but every time she picked up her phone, she found herself checking for a text from Liam. He had promised to reach out, but nothing came. Was it all just a mistake? A brief moment of kindness? She had no answers. Still, she couldn't help but feel that there was something more between them. Something real. It wasn't until she was wiping down the counter at the diner a few days later that she finally heard from him. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, and she quickly pulled it out, hoping it was a message from him. It was. The message simply read, "Hey, I know this is sudden, but I have an event coming up next week. A charity gala. I would love for you to be my guest. I know it's not really your scene, but I think you'd enjoy it. Let me know if you'd be interested." Emma stared at the message for a few moments, her heart racing. A gala? Liam wanted her to attend a charity gala with him? She had never been to anything like that before. She wasn't even sure if she owned a dress that would be appropriate. But the idea of spending more time with Liam, of seeing him outside of the casual coffee setting, made her heart beat faster. She quickly typed a response, trying to sound casual but not too eager. "I'd love to join you, Liam. But I have to warn you, I'm probably the least glamorous person in the room." She hit send and immediately regretted it. Was she being too forward? But the response came quickly. "Don't worry about that. Just come as you are. I'll take care of the rest." Emma stood there in the diner, her heart fluttering. She had agreed to go, even though it felt like she was stepping into a world that didn't belong to her. But she had never been one to turn down a challenge, especially not one that could bring her closer to Liam. As the days passed, she found herself caught between excitement and nervousness. What if she didn't fit in? What if she made a fool of herself? The night of the gala arrived, and Emma stood in front of her bathroom mirror, staring at herself. She had borrowed a dress from Jenny, who had insisted it looked perfect on her. Emma wasn't sure about it. She felt out of place in something so fancy. She wasn't used to the sparkle, the elegance. But tonight, she had to push those doubts aside. She wasn't going to let her insecurities hold her back. She was going to enjoy this night. And maybe, just maybe, it would bring her closer to Liam. When she arrived at the venue, the lights were dazzling, the sound of laughter and conversation filling the air. She took a deep breath and walked inside, feeling like a fish out of water. The crowd was full of people in expensive suits and sparkling dresses. Everyone looked so poised, so perfect. And then there was Emma, trying her best to blend in without drawing too much attention to herself. She spotted Liam almost immediately. He was standing near the stage, talking to a few other guests, looking every bit the confident CEO he was. He looked up as she approached, and his face lit up when he saw her. "Emma," he said, his voice warm. "You made it." For a moment, Emma forgot about her nerves. He wasn't judging her. He was happy to see her. He walked over to her, taking her arm gently. "Come on, let me introduce you to some people. I think you'll enjoy it here." As they made their way through the crowd, Liam introduced her to a few of his colleagues, but he never once left her side. Emma couldn't help but notice how effortlessly he moved through the room, how everyone seemed to know him, respect him. She was out of her element, but Liam made her feel like she belonged. As the night went on, she started to relax. The people were kind, and Liam kept her engaged in conversations that didn't make her feel like an outsider. Then, as the evening began to wind down, Liam took her aside to the balcony, where they could get a breath of fresh air. The city lights sparkled in the distance, and for a moment, the noise of the gala faded into the background. Liam turned to Emma, his expression softening. "I'm really glad you came tonight," he said. "I know it's a bit out of your comfort zone, but I wanted you to see this side of my world. And more importantly, I wanted to spend time with you, away from everything else." Emma's heart skipped a beat. There it was again, his sincerity. He wasn't just trying to impress her with his wealth or status. He genuinely wanted to get to know her. She smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I'm glad I came too," she said softly. "I never thought I'd be in a place like this, but I'm glad you invited me." They stood there for a moment, the cool night air between them, neither of them speaking. Emma could feel the chemistry building between them, a quiet understanding that had been growing since their first coffee date. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to this than she had expected. Maybe this wasn't just a charity event. It was the beginning of something real. The night air was cool on the balcony, and the sounds of the gala were faint in the distance. Liam and Emma stood side by side, the city lights sparkling below them. For a moment, everything felt still, like time had slowed down just for the two of them. Emma took a deep breath, trying to calm the fluttering in her chest. She had been nervous when she first arrived, unsure of how she'd fit in, but now she felt at ease, at least when she was with Liam. He wasn't the polished, untouchable CEO she had imagined. He was just Liam, and that was enough. Liam turned to her, his eyes soft. "I'm glad you came tonight," he said, his voice sincere. "I know it must feel out of place, but I really wanted you to be here. It means a lot." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I'm glad I came too," she said quietly. "I never thought I'd be in a place like this, but I'm glad you invited me." For a moment, there was a silence between them, comfortable and peaceful. Emma felt a connection that she hadn't expected to feel tonight. But just as she was about to speak again, she noticed the tension in Liam's posture. His hand tightened around the railing, and his eyes looked distant, as though something was on his mind. "Liam?" she asked gently, her voice soft. "Is everything okay?" He looked over at her, startled, and then quickly relaxed. "Yeah," he said, smiling, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Just thinking about things. You know how it is." He let out a breath and shook his head, as if trying to push the thoughts away. "Anyway, I'm glad you're here. That's what matters." Emma studied him for a moment, sensing there was more to the story, but she didn't press him. Instead, she offered a small smile, trying to reassure him. "You don't have to talk about it if you're not ready," she said softly. "But I'm here if you need to." For a brief second, their eyes locked, and something passed between them. A quiet understanding, an unspoken bond. Liam's smile grew a little warmer this time, and he nodded. "Thanks, Emma," he said, his voice a little more genuine. "It's just been a lot, you know? Running a company, meeting expectations, trying to keep up. Sometimes it gets to be too much." He paused, running a hand through his hair. But tonight, with you here, it feels like maybe I don't have to have everything figured out. For once, it's nice just to be here, with someone who doesn't expect anything from me. Emma's heart softened at his words. She hadn't expected him to open up like that, but somehow, she felt honored. You don't have to have everything figured out, she said quietly. None of us do. She reached out and lightly touched his arm, offering comfort in the way she knew best. Sometimes, just being in the moment is enough. He looked at her, his eyes a little brighter now. For the first time, Emma saw a side of Liam that was vulnerable, raw. And for the first time, she realized that maybe he wasn't just this billionaire CEO. He was someone who, just like her, was trying to figure things out, trying to find meaning in a world that expected too much. The moment stretched between them, both of them standing there, the city lights flickering like stars, the noise of the gala a distant hum. For a second, it felt like nothing else mattered. They didn't need to be perfect. They didn't need to be anything other than who they were right now. I'm glad I met you, Emma, Liam said quietly, breaking the silence. His words were simple, but they carried a weight that made Emma's heart flutter. She hadn't expected this to happen, not in a million years. She was just a waitress, and yet here she was, standing next to Liam Parker, the man she had accidentally sat next to at a restaurant days ago. And yet, in that moment, she felt like they both had found something rare, something real. Emma smiled, her heart full. I'm glad I met you too, Liam. She took a deep breath, as if grounding herself in this moment. I didn't expect any of this, but I'm starting to think that maybe it's not about having everything figured out. Liam looked at her, his eyes softening. Maybe you're right, he said, his voice low and thoughtful. Maybe we don't need to figure it all out. Maybe we just need to take things one step at a time. For a moment, they just stood there, side by side, looking out over the city, the noise of the gala still faint in the distance. But in that quiet space between them, Emma felt something shifting inside her. Something she couldn't quite explain, but something that felt important. This was just the beginning. And maybe, just maybe, this was the kind of connection she had been waiting for all along. As they walked back into the gala, Liam took her hand gently, his touch warm and reassuring. Emma squeezed it, her heart racing with the possibility of what could come next. Maybe they weren't perfect, and maybe life didn't always go according to plan. But in that moment, she realized that sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them. As the night went on, the gala slowly began to wind down, but Emma could hardly focus on the festivities. Her mind was still replaying the conversation she had shared with Liam on the balcony. There had been a softness to him that she hadn't expected. It wasn't just his wealth or status that made him different. It was the way he listened, the way he cared. She had never imagined herself in a world like this, but here she was, feeling like she belonged. They walked through the ballroom together, Liam's hand resting gently on her lower back, guiding her through the crowd. Every once in a while, their eyes would meet, and she would see a flicker of something in his gaze, something beyond the public persona, something real. After a while, Liam led Emma to a quiet corner near the bar. He leaned in slightly, speaking just above a whisper. You know, he began, his voice steady but tinged with something else. This night has been a reminder for me. A reminder that not everything in life needs to be planned. Sometimes, it's the unplanned moments that end up being the most important. Emma looked at him, her heart skipping a beat. She hadn't expected him to open up like this, but it felt different. This wasn't a conversation about business or expectations. It was just the two of them, speaking honestly. I'm glad you invited me tonight, she said softly. It's been eye-opening, but I can't help but wonder, what's next? Liam's expression shifted for a moment, his gaze flickering away as if thinking about something important. He took a slow breath, and when he looked back at her, there was something deeper in his eyes. I've been thinking about that too, he admitted. What's next? What comes after this? All of it. I think that maybe, for once, I don't need to have all the answers. I don't need to control everything. He paused, as though weighing his words carefully. But I do know that I want you to be part of it, Emma. Not just for tonight, but beyond this moment. Emma's heart fluttered at his words. She had never imagined she would hear something like that from him. She had come into this evening expecting nothing more than a simple, awkward night. But somehow, it had turned into something more, a connection she hadn't anticipated. I don't know what that means yet, she said, her voice trembling slightly. but I'd like to find out. He smiled, his eyes softening. That's all I'm asking for. Let's take it one step at a time, no pressure. I just want to see where this goes. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. His touch was light, but it made her feel like the only person in the room. Are you willing to give it a chance? Emma met his gaze, her mind racing. It wasn't just the allure of his wealth or his status that had drawn her in. It was the person he was beneath all that. And in that moment, she realized that maybe she was ready to let go of her doubts. Maybe she didn't have to have everything figured out either. Maybe, just like Liam, she could let life unfold as it would. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding with the weight of the moment. Yes, she said softly. I'm willing to give it a chance. Liam's smile widened, and for the first time that night, Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. It wasn't just about being with him because of the glamour or the perks. It was about something deeper, something she hadn't expected to find. They didn't need to rush into anything. For the first time, they could just be two people, exploring whatever came next. As the night ended, Liam walked Emma to the door of her apartment, his hand resting on her back again, guiding her. The air was cool, and the streetlights cast long shadows along the sidewalk. For a moment, they stood there, neither of them speaking, just taking in the quiet of the night. Liam turned to face her, his eyes soft. I'll be in touch soon, he said quietly, his voice low. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Emma nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. Me too, she whispered. Good night, Liam. He leaned down and kissed her cheek gently, the warmth of his lips lingering long after he pulled away. Good night, Emma, he said, his voice steady and sincere. As Liam walked away, Emma stood there for a moment, her mind racing. She had come into this night thinking it would be nothing more than a fleeting moment. But now, she couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning of something she hadn't expected. Something real. Something that could change everything. The next few days passed in a blur for Emma. She couldn't stop thinking about Liam and the moments they had shared. It wasn't just the charity gala, or the flowers he had brought her, or the way he made her feel important in a world she had always felt distant from. It was everything. The way he listened, the way he cared, the way he saw her as more than just a waitress. She kept replaying his words in her head. I want you to be part of it. What did that mean? Was he serious, or was he just being kind? And if he was serious, what would it mean for her life? She had always lived simply, worked hard, and tried to keep her head down. This world of high society, of million-dollar galas and luxury penthouses, it was nothing like her own. Yet, somehow, with Liam, it felt possible. It felt like maybe she belonged there, too. It was a Thursday evening when she heard from him again. The message was short and simple, but it made her heart race. Hey Emma, I'd love to take you out for dinner this weekend. There's a place I know that's quiet, cozy. Just us. Let me know what you think. She stared at her phone for a moment, her fingers hovering over the keyboard as she tried to think of the right response. She didn't want to seem too eager, but she couldn't deny how much she was looking forward to spending more time with him. After a deep breath, she typed back, Dinner sounds perfect. I'll see you then. The days leading up to their dinner were filled with anticipation. Emma found herself picking out an outfit, trying to balance the excitement with the nagging voice in her head that reminded her this was all so new. So different. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. She was used to working hard and keeping her personal life quiet. But Liam made her feel like she didn't have to hide anything. He was different, and she found herself wanting to be part of his world. Saturday evening arrived, and Emma found herself standing in front of the mirror once again, trying to calm her nerves. She had chosen a simple dress, nothing too fancy, but enough to make her feel confident. She wanted to look good for Liam, but more than that, she wanted to be herself. She was tired of pretending to be something she wasn't. She was ready to let herself experience whatever this was. When she arrived at the restaurant, a quiet, intimate bistro tucked away from the city's hustle and bustle, Liam was already waiting for her at a small table in the corner. His smile lit up when he saw her, and for a moment, all the doubt and uncertainty she had felt earlier melted away. You look stunning, Liam said as she sat down across from him. His voice was warm, genuine, and it made Emma's heart flutter. I'm glad you came. Thank you, Emma replied, feeling a little shy but also grateful for his kindness. This place is beautiful. I thought you'd like it, he said with a smile. It's one of my favorite spots in the city. Quiet, No fuss. Just a nice place to unwind. They spent the evening talking, the conversation flowing easily between them. It wasn't about business or expectations, just about life. Emma found herself sharing things she hadn't even realized she wanted to say. Her dreams, her childhood, her struggles. Liam listened, asking questions, never interrupting, always present. For once, she didn't feel like she had to hide anything. As the meal came to an end, Liam leaned back in his chair, his eyes meeting hers. There was something different in his gaze, something softer, more vulnerable. You know, Emma, he began, his voice serious but not heavy. I've been thinking about us, about where we're going, and I just want to be honest with you. I really like you. I know we don't know everything about each other yet, but I feel like this could be something real. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say that. She had always been cautious with her feelings, afraid to get too attached to something that might not last. But hearing Liam say those words made her wonder if she had been too afraid of the unknown. Maybe, just maybe, this was worth taking a chance on. I like you too, Emma said, her voice soft but firm. I don't know where this is going, but I'm willing to see where it leads. Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up. That's all I need to hear, he said, reaching across the table to take her hand in his. One step at a time, right? They sat there for a moment, the world around them fading as they simply enjoyed each other's presence. It wasn't about fancy dinners or grand gestures. It was just about the two of them, sharing something real, something that felt like it could last. The future was still uncertain, but in that moment, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. As they left the restaurant together, Liam's hand gently holding hers, Emma realized that maybe she didn't have to have everything figured out. Maybe it was okay to just let things unfold. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. And, with Liam by her side, maybe, just maybe, this could be the beginning of something beautiful. The days after their dinner together felt like a whirlwind. Emma couldn't stop thinking about Liam and the easy way they had connected. She found herself looking forward to their next conversation, their next encounter, but at the same time, there was a nagging feeling she couldn't shake. It was the same feeling she had experienced after their first coffee date, the doubt, the fear of getting too close. She had lived most of her life keeping her distance, never fully allowing herself to trust that things could be different. But with Liam, it felt different. She knew it, but the doubt lingered, quiet and persistent. It was a Tuesday afternoon when everything changed. Emma had just finished her shift at the diner when her phone buzzed with a message from Liam. She quickly pulled it out of her pocket, her heart racing as she read his text. I need to talk to you, Emma. Can we meet today? I think we need to have an honest conversation. Her stomach dropped. His words were simple, but they carried a weight that made her nervous. What could he want to talk about? What was on his mind? She quickly typed back, trying to calm the anxiety bubbling in her chest. Of course. Where should we meet? I'll come pick you up in an hour, he replied. It'll be easier if we talk in person. An hour later, Emma stood outside the diner, her thoughts running wild. Liam's car pulled up to the curb, and she saw him waiting for her in the driver's seat. He looked serious, his jaw tight, and his eyes focused. As she climbed into the car, he gave her a small, strained smile, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Where are we going? She asked, trying to keep the conversation light. Somewhere quiet, Liam said, his voice low. I just think we need to clear the air, talk about everything. Emma's nerves heightened, but she didn't say anything. She didn't want to make things awkward, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. They drove in silence for a while, the tension thick between them. Finally, Liam pulled into a small park by the lake. He parked the car, but neither of them moved right away. Emma, Liam began, his voice softer now. I know we've been seeing each other for a while now, and I can't deny that I really like you. I've been thinking about us a lot, about where this is going. But there's something I haven't told you. Something I need to be honest about. Emma's heart began to race again, and she swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. What is it? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Liam took a deep breath, running his hand through his hair. The truth is, I've been keeping a lot from you. I didn't want to overwhelm you, but you deserve to know. The thing is, I'm not just a CEO. I'm part of a much larger world, one that you're not used to, one that has a lot of expectations. I've been trying to keep that separate from my feelings for you, but I think it's time you knew the truth. Emma's mind raced, trying to piece together what he was saying. She had known he was wealthy, but she didn't fully understand the extent of his life outside of the time they spent together. Liam continued, his voice quieter now. I didn't want you to think that I was just another guy with money, trying to impress you. I don't want you to feel like you're just a part of some business arrangement or charity event. I want you to know that I really do care about you, Emma, more than I thought I would. And I don't want to hide who I am from you anymore. Emma felt the weight of his words settle in her chest. She could hear the sincerity in his voice, but a part of her still felt unsure. She had always been so careful, so guarded, and this world that Liam was a part of seemed so far removed from the life she knew. But as she looked at him, sitting there beside her, she realized that his world didn't have to be hers. He wasn't asking her to be someone else. He was just asking her to be with him. She took a deep breath, looking into his eyes. I don't know what the future holds, Liam, she said softly. But I do know that I want to try. I want to see where this goes. I'm not perfect, and I don't have all the answers, but I think we could figure it out together. Liam's face softened, and for a moment, he just stared at her, as if trying to read her. Then he smiled, a genuine, relieved smile, and reached out to gently take her hand. Thank you, Emma, he said quietly. That means more to me than you know. I promise I won't hide anything from you again, and I won't push you into anything. We'll take it one step at a time, together. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. It wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to be perfect. But with Liam, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she was ready to let go of the walls she had built around herself. She squeezed his hand, smiling softly. One step at a time, she agreed, her heart finally at ease. The weeks that followed felt like a dream to Emma. Each day she spent with Liam seemed to bring them closer. They took their time, no rush, no pressure. Dinner dates, walks through quiet parks, and long conversations about their hopes and fears. It was everything she had never expected from a relationship, but it was everything she had always wanted. As much as she had tried to keep her guard up, Emma couldn't help but feel that Liam was different. He wasn't like the other men she had known, and for the first time, she felt like she didn't have to pretend. She could be herself, and that felt like a gift she hadn't known she needed. One afternoon, Liam invited her to his office to meet a few of his colleagues. Emma had been nervous at first, unsure about stepping into his world so fully. But when she walked into the sleek, glass-walled office, greeted by the warmth of Liam's presence, she felt a calmness take over. She didn't feel out of place, not like she thought she would. The people were kind, and Liam made sure she was included in the conversation, never leaving her to fend for herself. As the meeting went on, she realized that Liam didn't just protect her from the world. He made her feel like she belonged in it. As the days passed, Emma began to think more seriously about her future with Liam. What would it look like? She still had her dreams, her art, her small apartment, the life she had built on her own. But now, there was Liam. He had made it clear that he cared about her, and she had opened up to him in ways she hadn't with anyone else. Still, there was a voice in her head asking, am I ready for this? Am I ready to be part of his world? It was during one of their quiet evenings at Liam's apartment when the question surfaced. They were sitting on the couch, a glass of wine in hand, as the city lights shimmered outside the window. Liam was flipping through a magazine, but Emma's thoughts were elsewhere. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she needed to say. Liam, she began softly, her voice tentative. I've been thinking a lot about us. About everything. And I just need to ask, are you sure about this? About me? Liam put down the magazine, looking at her with a softness in his eyes. What do you mean? He asked, his voice calm. I mean, this life we're building. You're so used to this world, and I'm not. I've never been part of anything like this. You live in a world of high society, meetings, business deals. And I've always been on the outside, looking in. I just need to know if you're sure. Sure about me, about this. Because I'm not sure I'm ready to be a part of all that. For a moment, Liam didn't speak. He just watched her, his gaze steady and unwavering. Emma's heart raced, afraid she had said too much, exposed too much. But then Liam reached out, taking her hand gently in his. Emma, he said, his voice low, but filled with certainty. I'm sure. I'm more sure about you than anything else. This world, my world, it doesn't matter if you don't come from it. It's not what makes us who we are. What matters is that we've found something real, something true. I don't care about the meetings, the business. I care about you. And that's all I need. Emma felt the weight of his words settle in her chest. She had always been so afraid of not fitting in, of not being enough. But with Liam, she realized it wasn't about fitting in at all. It was about being seen, being heard, and being loved for who she was. No masks, no pretenses. Just them, together. "I'm ready," she whispered, her voice full of conviction this time. "I'm ready for us. For this." Liam's eyes softened, and he leaned in, brushing his lips against her forehead. "Then let's do this, Emma," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "One step at a time. Together." And with that, Emma felt the last of her doubts slip away. She was ready. Ready to be with Liam. Ready to take this journey, wherever it would lead. Time passed, and Emma and Liam's relationship continued to grow stronger with each passing day. They faced challenges, yes, but they faced them together. Emma found herself stepping more into Liam's world, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. And with every new experience, whether it was a gala, a business dinner, or a quiet moment at home, she realized that the life she had been so afraid of was not as daunting as she had once thought. Liam made sure of that. He never pushed her, never made her feel like she had to be someone else. He just loved her for who she was, and that gave her the confidence to take risks she never would have before. It was a sunny afternoon when Liam surprised her with a visit to the art gallery she had always dreamed of opening. She had mentioned it to him once, just in passing, but he had remembered. Standing in front of the gallery, which now had her name on the door, Emma Brooks Gallery, she felt an overwhelming rush of emotion. It was more than just the building or the art inside. It was the symbol of everything they had built together, the trust, the honesty, the love. "I know it's just a beginning," Liam said, standing next to her as they looked at the sign. "But it's yours. I believe in you, Emma." Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at him. "I don't know what to say. This means everything to me. I never thought I would get the chance to do something like this. But you made it happen." Liam smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. "You made it happen, Emma. You've always had this inside of you. I just wanted to give you the space to make it real." She took his hand, squeezing it tightly. "You've given me more than space. Liam, you've given me belief. You've shown me that anything is possible when we face it together." They stood there for a moment, taking it all in, the gallery, their journey, their future. And as the door to the gallery swung open, Emma felt a new chapter of her life begin. She wasn't the same woman who had walked into Liam's world months ago. She was stronger, braver, and more certain of herself than ever before. And with Liam by her side, she knew there was nothing they couldn't face. Weeks later, they found themselves back in the quiet park by the lake where it all began. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow across the water, and they walked side by side, their hands intertwined. "You know," Liam said, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking a lot about this journey we've been on. How far we've come, and how much we've changed." Emma smiled, looking up at him. "I think about that, too," she said softly. "And I realize that everything we've gone through, it's all led us here, to this moment. And I wouldn't change a thing." He stopped walking, turning to face her. His gaze was serious, but his smile was warm. "Neither would I. Because, Emma, you're everything I've ever wanted. And I promise, no matter what comes next, I'll always be here. With you." Emma's heart swelled as she looked at him. "I love you, Liam," she said, her voice steady with the certainty that had grown inside her. "And I'm ready for whatever comes next, as long as it's with you." He pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "I love you too," he whispered into her hair. "And whatever comes next, we'll face it together." As the sun set behind them, Emma realized that life wasn't about knowing every step of the journey. It was about the people you walked it with, the moments you shared, and the love that carried you through it all. With Liam by her side, she knew their story was just beginning, and she couldn't wait to see where it would take them.